Welcome to I'm Too Busy, an interview-based show hosted by a talented makeup artist, Christina Flack. Christina offers viewers a unique blend of personal stories, inspiring journeys, and practical beauty tips. Join the conversation as Christina features successful individuals from various industries who share their insights on health, wellness, makeup, and the keys to their success. So now, please welcome the host of I'm Too Busy, Christina Flack.
Hello, welcome to I'm Too Busy TV. I'm your host, Christina Flack. Today we're exploring the extraordinary journey of an artist who's mastered multiple forms of creative expression, from ballet to Broadway and now symphonic composition. Shannon Rugani is a California-born artistic powerhouse who began her career as one of the youngest company members in San Francisco Ballet history. After transitioning to Broadway as part of the Tony Award-winning An American in Paris, she emerged as a singer-songwriter called EMPRESS. Now she's returning to her ballet roots as a composer, creating a groundbreaking symphony based on Marilyn Monroe's life for Oregon Ballet Theatre. Most recently, she's embraced her newest role as a mother to her daughter, born in January of 2024. Shannon is one of my dearest friends. We met. Hi, my love. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for being here today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
It's my absolute honor. So Shannon and I met, I don't even know, almost 10 years ago, I think now, on a photo shoot, and we fell madly in love and became best friends.
Yes. I mean, not hard to do with Christina Flack.
Oh.
Everyone, so I fell right in line.
Oh, you're so sweet. We have had so many incredible photo shoots. We've done album covers, magazine covers, and music videos. And it's just been so much fun to be part of her team and help, to paint this gorgeous face is just like, I could do it all day, every day. So
you're here for me today.
So what drew you to ballet at such a young age?
I loved music, and it always starts with music. It starts and it ends with music. And I just wouldn't sit still. Every time my parents put music on, I would dance around. And so it was a really lovely, easy thing to do for a little girl to be put into ballet class. That was and I was the oldest, or the firstborn in my family. And so my parents kind of just put me in ballet class because that's what you do with little girls, right? They just didn't know that I was going to become like a professional ballerina,
Right. How did earning a full merit scholarship to San Francisco Ballet School shape your path? That must have changed things enormously.
Yes, that was, it made it easy to say yes. That was any kind of merit scholarship is always like exciting because you know that you're wanted and they want you so bad that they'll pay for you to go, which is amazing. But what was so incredible about that, I was from Lake Tahoe, California, and I was a big fish in a little pond. And I guess I didn't expect to get a full merit scholarship at all. Because I'd show up and I always had like messy hair. Like you can see this is nothing new. My mom and I were eating, I will never forget, we were eating In-N-Out Burger, waiting for the audition to start for San Francisco Ballet. And these two little girls get out of this car that literally said San Francisco Ballet School, like on the license plate, SFBS. And they get out in this perfect outfits and their hair slicked back. And I was like eating, I don't know, I was slurping my milkshake or something. I'm literally like, I don't know if I'm going to fit in here. I wasn't very flexible. So I remember watching these girls just taking their leg and bending it behind their head. And I was like, I'm never going to make it here. And so I guess when I did make it and I got a merit scholarship, that was like kind of not only a dream come true, but it was like unfathomable, like that I could make it from such a small place, small town,
When did you first realize you had multiple artistic talents?
Uh, I always loved music. That was my first love. The dance was like, I mean, that was an obvious because um I sort of not fell into it, but I was really gifted as far as the physical, like the body. I had good turnout and I had nice feet and I had a short torso and long legs. And I like kind of scored in that department as far as like the right body type. And I loved dancing. And then I got better at it and I fell in love with it even more. I know that sounds a little ridiculous, but when you're really, really enjoying something and you're good at it, it is fun to fall in line with that. But
Absolutely.
the the music, like the composing, that started when I was 4. Like I knew I loved music, and that was like the easiest first thing to fall in love with, and then all the other artistic endeavors, singing, that was like a fluke. I got a part in a ballet that I needed to sing, and I was the best of the worst. So like no one is hired to sing. No one's hired to make noise in the ballet. Let's be real. So to sing, I was like, okay, well, I mean, it's not like I have a lot of competition. I've never sung Happy Birthday in front of my family, but here we go. I'm going to sing in an opera house and like go for it.
Oh my.
The bar felt really low as far as that's concerned. And then Broadway called and that they wanted to go to Broadway, and because I had a singing voice. And I went from the silent world into a very loud, jazz hand New York Broadway. And singing was such an unexpected curveball to find a voice within this, silent world of ballet was kind of also something that it came out of left field for me. And I always say now I can't shut up. I will never not sing. I will never not make noise. And then during the pandemic, the world shut down, including recording studios. So I just started my music career, and then I couldn't go to recording studios and work with people in person. So I had to learn all of the engineering tools. And now I'm a music producer, a fully fledged music producer, and using my composition skills to do like full symphonies and do all of my pop music. And that's also a left field, and that was because of the pandemic. There were some upsides, as terrible as it was, but yeah, the singing and the music composition side, that's totally, I had no idea that was, in my cards.
How long were you with the ballet?
I was there for 11 years.
That's a
11
really
years.
long.
Yeah.
Is that an average amount of years that one a
The
ballerina
average is like
dances? What?
2, 3 years, maybe max. Like it's not a long career. Uh, I was like a dinosaur, basically. Whenever like a whole generation of people left every like 3 years or so, I was still there, and I'm very grateful for all that time because there's this weird thing that I always talk about, like your peak and your like the peak of your career is when your physicality and your artistry kind of meet and intersect, and then your physicality starts going downhill and you get better artistically. So if you can kind of ride that peak for a little longer, you have so much more fun as an artist, as a dancer. You get better at anything the more you do it. And so the fact that I got to do it for 11 years professionally, and I could have kept going. They let me just take a leave of absence when I went to Broadway, but I was having way too much fun and just didn't come back. So it was an easier transition.
Was it a hard transition? I mean, it was
Yeah,
so different from the ballet. What was that
yeah,
like that day on Broadway when you got there? Like, are things just so different
yeah.
from the ballet world to the Broadway
So
world? It's like way
yes, so
exaggerated.
yeah, no, it was very different in a really beautiful way. Like first of all, everyone in the ballet starts so young, and I got hired when I was 16. You just start like you're a little kid and you're working with all these adults, but they were all like, we're all world travelers. We're very we're like sponges. We absorb everything that we're given in the ballet world, but we're still really young when you start, and you don't go to college because that's your prime, those are your prime years. So it's you're a bunch of little kids working in this little bubble, and then you go to Broadway and everyone went to college and they've had lives and they are older, so they have a little bit less like, God, I hope I get it, which is ironic because that's for Broadway, but they're a little bit more balanced, and they don't let people talk down to them. Like, there was this first meeting with the PR people, and one of the older actors in the show started like just yelling at the PR person, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've never, like, you can't talk back to people in power. Yeah, like, that's not allowed. She's probably gonna get fired. And I was like, no, this is just, you don't disrespect us here. It was amazing. And it's just much louder in general. So the career transition was amazing for me because I was a loud ballerina. So I always felt like this green alien with a bunch of perfect swans, and like, I really feel like I didn't fit in fully in the ballet world. I made it work, but there were little things that felt were loud, you know. In that world. And then when I got to Broadway, I was like, these are my people. This is so much fun. We're like having fun, but we're being professional as well. And it was just a really lovely, like, and my transition was lovely. It was amazing.
That's amazing. We are going to take our first commercial break. We are with Shannon Rugani, and we'll be right back. And I'm Christina Flack, and I'm too busy.
Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Hello, welcome back to I'm Too Busy. I'm Christina Flack, and we are chatting with my dear friend Shannon Rugani. So tell me more about being on Broadway. What was that like, that first time that you went on stage? Was it terrifying? Was it exciting? Like, what was...
Okay, so I have to say, it was so fun, and it was so easy compared to some of the experiences I had in the ballet world, because we prepared for so long. We knew what we were doing. We knew the show in and out, and it was actually, there were no nerves, which I always expected this big, like dun 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 dun. I was like, no, this is it felt so right. I have to say, it just felt so incredibly right, and it just felt like I was when you feel like you're in the right place, just everything, you're in that moment, you're in the zone, but you're also just like enjoying everything. I was really enjoying the show. I can't say every time I'm on dancing in ballet, I was enjoying myself. It was more like I was seeking perfection. Whereas on Broadway, and there's this sense, and I don't mean to talk bad about the ballet, but the ballet is like things happen so last minute in the ballet. Like 10 people will get injured or sick at the same time, and it just can it throws you for a loop, because I was very easygoing, and they definitely utilized that, because I would be thrown on stage most of the time without a rehearsal, and they would just be like, it's the opposite of what you usually do, so just reverse everything, and I just went with it. And so I never felt like prepared for very many things. There's the Nutcracker. You do that every year. You're always prepared for that. But there's just like something about going on Broadway. We had rehearsed for like 4 months, did the same, just one show instead of like multiple shows. And it felt so fun, and I was loving it. It was just, I have to say, it was just so much fun. It was amazing.
You must have felt a lot less stress and pressure. I mean, if you hadn't had that ballet, career before, I'm sure Broadway would have been way more terrifying. But after going through the scrutiny and the stress and the incredible hard work and dedication that you did with the ballet, by the time you got to Broadway, you're like, wow, this is cake. It's like, well, it's fun.
Great. And also, yes, and also they cast so well on Broadway. They spent so long casting. They spent 2 years casting our show specifically, and it was you were picked. You were the perfect person for that role, so you didn't have to change. It was like they built the show around everybody that was cast, and so we were all doing what we were really good at. So it just felt really right, everything. It wasn't like in the ballet there's this pressure of dancing at least as well as the person that danced the role before you, and there's these roles that have been danced for hundreds of years. You have people like Makarova, who's danced the Sleeping Beauty or something, and it's this famous ballet, and there's people judging you based on what they've seen other people do. Whereas on Broadway, it's a new show. You are the perfect person for the role, and and there's also a bigger pool of people to cast from as well. Whereas in the ballet, you have 80 people, let's say, and within those 80 people, you have to cast all these parts, and so some people are more uncomfortable with steps, different styles, all the things. But yeah, Broadway was easy compared to that.
How did Broadway even find out about you, or like what made you even think that Broadway was a possibility?
This is a great question. I told you I was given that role to sing in ballet, and 8 years later, the director was looking for ballerinas who could sing, and he remembered me because he was in the audience that night when I sang for the first time. Wow. And there's not a lot of ballerinas who can sing, so it's not like he's like, let's see, out of the 5,000 people, it's like, no, there's like 3 of us, and so he's like, oh, Shannon. So Chris Wheeldon originally asked me in a coffee shop, would you ever want to go to Broadway? And you know what, the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life, I said, I don't know. Like, I don't know. And he was like, I was like, the ballet's not really a revolving door. I feel like I'm like in the prime of my career right now. I'm not sure if I'm like ready to go. And then cherry topper on all of that, I wanted the lead role. So I auditioned for the ballet, or I auditioned for it. And then when they didn't give me the lead role, which had already been cast, I said, I don't want to be in the show. So then, by the way, I was still waiting to hear back. I was like, they'll want me. They'll definitely want me. No, they didn't want me. They had cast the whole show. And the music director threw a temper tantrum one day, I guess. Apparently, this is all hearsay. He was like, we need more singers. And I know you want dancers. Chris Wheeldon is from the ballet world. He's a director and choreographer. And he goes, but you need singers. Otherwise, the Gershwin music is going to fall flat, and, it's just that we don't have a show. And the casting director was like, there's this girl, but we'd have to pitch it hard, and we all have to call her and beg her to be in this show. And I ended up getting a phone call from all of them pitching themselves basically to try to get me to do the ensemble. And I ended up, I mean, it was really classic. I had this idea that I would buy a Chanel purse when I went to Broadway. And my massage therapist slash Master Yoda, he always said things that were, they made a big impact in my life. He said, you should buy that Chanel purse as if you're going to Broadway. And I was like, you're right. So I went out, I found one online, I ordered it. It arrived while I was on the phone with Chris Wheeldon 3 months after I had auditioned, and they had already cast the show and they were set to go, and they were all begging me to be in the show, and the Chanel bag arrived in the mail that day of all days.
You know what? Amazing? Doesn't surprise. And you did see, is that when you realized you had magical powers?
Yeah, well, there were a few things in my life where it was like, that was a cool manifestation. There's been a few, but that was a pretty spectacular one. And Chanel's to this day is my favorite brand.
I love it. Can you share with us a couple other experiences where you manifested something?
Yeah, the first one was I was looking at a magazine and I see this little this photo of a dancer who is retiring from San Francisco Ballet. No, she wasn't retiring yet, but she was dancing for San Francisco Ballet. She was in this beautiful position at the bar looking in the mirror, and it was just a beautiful photo. And she was talking about in the interview how she was hired when she was 16 in San Francisco Ballet, and I was 12 at the time, and I remember thinking, how the heck am I going to get from my PJs right here, right now, in 4 years to do that? Because that's what I want to do. I want to be in San Francisco Ballet, and I want to be there when I'm 16. Like, that would be so cool. And I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I will. And I just put my head down and I worked, and there were just so many angels that kind of, it just feels like they always pushed us in the right direction. And when I got hired, I was 16. The woman that was in that photo when I was 12 was teaching the ballet class. She had just retired, so she used to stand in the same spot in the ballet class every day. So that spot was vacant, essentially. So I joined the company, and I walk up to that bar. I did the same position. I looked in the mirror and I saw myself at 16 manifested into this company, and it was a really cool, like, dream come true moment. And yeah, that was amazing.
Did you tell her what had happened?
What?
Did you ever tell her what had happened, that you saw
Yeah,
the picture?
you know what? It's funny. I told her like 10 years later. I was like, you were the reason why, like, I was in San Francisco Ballet at 16. We're like I think there's 2 or 3 of us that are like the youngest in the company's history. And she was like, no, why? And I was like, do you remember that? Anyway, so I told her about it, and she probably didn't think it was as special as I did, but it's fine.
What key lessons did Broadway teach you?
Oh, that's a great question. Oh, I think the first lesson that I learned was, it's not about perfection. It's about consistency. So, like, in the ballet, you have like sometimes one shot to do the show. And so you work so hard for like one performance, and you're always striving for perfection. And I think there was like, I did like 150 shows in a row or something, and I fell in one of the shows, and I started crying at the end of the show because it was like, I was like embarrassed. There were a few people there to see me in the show, and I just felt really, like, I don't know, bummed out that I kind of messed up my part of the show anyway. And this woman who had been in like 9 Broadway shows, she came over to me and she goes, you've done how many shows now? 160, let's say. She goes, and all of those shows have been perfect, and you mess up one time, and you have to think of it as the consistency. You've like done such a great job, but it's not about the perfection anymore. You're just here to, there might be one show a week that you don't do your best, but that's still better than, like 0 shows, I guess. Or not even being on Broadway. you know. So that was a huge lesson for me and also just sort of rest, like, whenever you can, like, because I was always used to working so hard that even when I was like backstage, I would be like working really hard to like kind of go with the flow a little bit more was really important. And last but not least, but I also learned how to breathe. I took like a few acting classes, and the acting coach was like, "You are breathing so poorly," probably from our ballet training where I was always the fat ballerina with like tight corsets and stuff. So I'd kind of rigid breathing. I had rigid breathing. She sent me to this Alexander teacher, and the breath, oh my God, breathing changed my life. And I remember paying for my first lesson, and I called my mom and I said, "Mom, am I getting like taken here? Because I just paid $100 an hour to like
To
learn
breathe.
how to." Yeah. But it was life changing. It was amazing. So breathing through everything, ease, and then the consistency, just like be consistent. You don't have to be perfect.
So when you were on Broadway, what was the typical week like? Like,
I
do you have
did
a day, or do you have any off days? How does that work?
so 8 shows a week. And so, yeah, there's not enough days for that. So we had Mondays were our off day. That's the rest day, but it's not really rest. It's like get all the things done that you couldn't do during the week. So it's usually a massage, laundry, grocery shopping, cook for the week, and then you prep. And then the week goes, there's 2 shows on Wednesday and 2 shows on Saturdays, and those double show days were hard because our show exhausting. And my husband and I were bi-coastal, so I stayed up so late that it actually worked out where I would go to bed when he went to bed, and I would just have to sleep in because our show went until 11 o'clock, and it was really a hard physically hard show. So I noticed that if I woke up early in the morning, it was really hard to get through the show at night. So I ended up having to force myself to stay in bed until 11 a.m. was like the earliest I could get out of bed. So I would just stay up late because, you have adrenaline after the show ends. I'd ice my feet and I'd go home and I'd have dinner, and then I'd have to let it digest and then take a bath and then go to bed and start over the next day. And I would take a ballet class, here and there. But if I did too much, I noticed if I did too much, it was like, 2 steps backwards. And if you just kept doing that, you just kind of keep on hurting yourself almost. So, and I had this injury that developed over the course of 9 months. I'd never had an injury like this where it's creeped up so slowly, and I knew it was happening. All of my injuries over the course of my ballet career were like fall, boom, I tear something or I break something or, whatever happens. Whereas this one was 1 step, and it was a big jump, and I'd land on that foot and I was like, that hurt. And then it just kept on going. I mean, you do it like however many shows and however many times. I think I counted because it was easy to count. It was like 2,000 jumps, and I finally cracked a bone. Like it just happened over the course of 9 months, and it was so frustrating. They ended up changing the step, which was amazing and a big blessing on Broadway, but it was ugh, slow and sure, painful leading up to that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We are going to take another commercial break. I'm Christina Flack, and I'm too busy, and I am with Shannon Rugani.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com. Author, radio show host and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. Rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies. Find settings that allow them to be the most productive and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Hello, welcome back. We are chatting today with Shannon Rugani. All right, my love. So we've gone through your ballet career, your Broadway career, and now let's go on to your Empress career. What did you decide to leave Broadway and become Empress? I remember when we were figuring out what you were going to be called.
Yes, that's right. I know you were part of that. Let's see. Oh, I'm so sorry. Hang on. Oh my gosh, so bad. Are you still there? Okay, good.
So you just said, okay, you did Broadway. Did you stay on, or were you just like, this is enough?
Yeah, I got to a point on Broadway where I realized that I wanted more artistry and more of the control of my artistry. In my careers, I've been an artist forever and a performing artist forever. And so I know what it's like to feel like, I don't know, the star of a show, but then you're doing someone else's art essentially. So you're just the canvas, and I wanted to be the artist and the paint and the canvas and do it all. And I just thought, like, also singing was just becoming more and more prevalent in my life. And I started bit by bit starting to share my music with people, and it was terrifying because I was a closeted singer-songwriter, and I just didn't really want to share it with anyone because I just didn't think anyone would understand or even appreciate it or whatever. I just didn't know. And one day we were away opening an American in Paris, and I didn't have my piano for months, and I was dying inside. And we finally went to this house party, and there was this piano there, and I thought about it, and I was like, no, I don't want to disrupt the party, of course. And then I got to the point where I was like, to the person who owned the house, can I play your piano, please? And I closed my eyes and I sang my song, and I felt so much better. It was like, I'm back. It's the way I recharge. It's the way I can vent. It's just amazing. And I look around the room, like one eye, I was so scared to like get feedback by singers, actual singers. And people were crying and they were emotional over it. Like, it was a sad song that I was playing, but it was like really cool because it touched them, and they encouraged me to keep sharing it and to keep exploring my voice and finding that. And so really the encouragement really helped share, because otherwise it was just a closeted hobby essentially. And I felt like the ruler over my life for the first time. So when I was thinking of all of the things that I've learned in my career, they kind of felt like gemstones, and I was kind of assembling them into this. And I love tiaras. I mean, hello, as a ballerina, like this is what I do. I love crowns. So I was always thinking of it as assembling my own crown with, the little bits and pieces, and kind of putting all of those beautiful gemstones into one place. And I just felt like Empress embodied what I wanted to be. And I really wanted to become something that people would accept. I think Shannon felt a little bit like I was in a box where, when I was on Broadway, everyone thought I was a ballerina. And when I went back to the ballet, because there's a little period of time I went back to the ballet while being on Broadway, and everyone's like, oh, the Broadway star. And I was just really frustrated that I couldn't be everything and just be accepted doing all the things that I wanted to do. So in order to do that, I kind of felt like I needed to really be something bigger. And Empress was an amazing gift because it expands and kind of blows up the box, if you will. That box that people like to put you in as an artist. You're only good at this, or you're really good at that, so that's all we're going to let you do. Like, I'm good at more than this, and I want to show that to the world. And so I feel like I get to do that, and not to rule over anybody else, but just my own,
Right.
just myself. And maybe encourage other people to find their own version of a crown and be empowered to wear it.
Are you going to continue singing, or let's start talking about this Marilyn Monroe project that you have with Oregon Ballet. So tell me.
So yeah, I'm definitely going to keep singing. I released like 13 new songs last year, and a bunch of music videos I had prepared, but when I got pregnant, I was so sick and I couldn't focus on releasing anything. So last year I released all of the things that I had planned to release when I was pregnant. And then the composition thing, that was me hardcore pitching myself to my favorite choreographers like 3 or 4 years ago now. I was like, I would love to write music for you. I can do this, I promise. And they believed me. And one choreographer in particular, Danielle Rowe, who is one of my favorites, she's incredible. And it's just really rare to have female choreographers in general. I've personally never worked with one. So and I was a dancer for 20 years. There was no female choreographers when I was dancing. She's amazing. Somehow gets the emotion out and it becomes more human, but it's still so ethereal and just amazing. So I pitched my music to her a couple years ago and she was like, yes. And I did kind of the same thing I did with the Broadway show where I was like, but I want to be the lead, I was like, I only want it, if I'm going to put this much work in, it has to be a big project. I don't want to just do like these small little, where they don't pay you kind of projects. And she goes, great, I got this big gig at Pacific Northwest. My first symphony with her was last fall. I was super pregnant. I had to drive up there. It was hard. And premiered. And people were very emotional. It was really cool because I thought I was just a mess because I was pregnant. But there was a grown man behind me sobbing. Like he did not sound okay. And I was like, that was my music that touched him to the point where he was sobbing. It was beautiful. And it was a very cool experience to hear the music played live for the ballet. I've wanted that for so long. And while I was there, she pitched the Marilyn Monroe Ballet to me and asked if I would be willing to do it, even though she knew the baby was coming. Because it's going to be a big project, but I would love for you to do this with me. And how can you say no to that? I mean,
you can't say no to that. And there's that iconic photograph of Marilyn in the Tool ballet,
yes.
the Tool, and it's one of my favorite ones. And
the ballet,
that inspire you? That photograph?
Literally, yeah. I mean, her story is incredible because I did a very deep dive and watched every documentary, read every book, watched all of her movies. What an incredible woman. I mean, really born ahead of her time, in my opinion, but just amazing on so many levels. And to be able to write the music and bring her life to the stage was such a gift. And I felt like, in a weird way, Norma Jean was a part of the creation of it because it flowed. It just when you have a newborn, you don't really have the quality time to compose that I used to have. I just used to, when I felt inspired, I'd write. And now it's like, I have time, 5 minutes, baby's asleep for a half an hour, whatever, all these scrap times. The music really came to me whenever I needed it, which is a huge blessing. And I can only give Norma Jean, little kudos from the other side, because that was potentially her whispering into my ear, like, not that one, this melody is better. But it was really special. And it's so beautiful. I cry every time I listen to certain pieces, but it's 90 minutes and I'm very proud of it.
You should be very proud. I mean, that's an incredible accomplishment. When will this be? It's in April, your performance, correct?
April 4th at Portland, for the Oregon Ballet Theatre. And then there's Tulsa Ballet and Ballet Met and Washington Ballet. So we're trying to get the Kennedy Center for 2026, which would have been Marilyn's 100th birthday, which would be
Oh my
amazing.
God, I've got goosebumps. So
It'd be so amazing. And, if we do it at the Kennedy Center, our joke is like we're getting JFK and Marilyn back together,
absolutely. Happy birthday, Mr. President.
Happy birthday, Mr. President. And that one's in there too. It's so fun. I had a blast writing that piece.
That is so exciting. So now, are you working on new pieces? What are you working on right now?
Yeah. So right now I wrote a book with one of my favorite songwriting partners, Alex Forbes from New York. And we wrote a book during the pandemic. We pitched it around. There's also 18 songs that go along with this.
Remember this.
I've told you about this. Yes.
Yep.
But I'll tell the world. So we wrote this book, and it's a children's, like a middle grade fantasy novel. And we pitched it around, and people from the book world were nervous because of the music, and the people from the music world were worried about the book because they don't really intersect usually. So we're a little ahead of our time. So what I've decided to do is to make a podcast of the whole book. It's basically the audiobook. And we've recorded 80 people for all the different characters, and we're piecing that together, and we're going to make basically a musical. It's a huge undertaking. It took 6 months to just get all the recordings, and now we're putting that together. So that'll be released along with the 18 songs. And then I have 2 other symphony projects that are in the works right now, and I just need to finish editing them so I can release them. But that's like, there's always something. When you're creative and you're limited on time, there's always going to be something.
What do you do, like, when your day isn't flowing? Like, what do you do?
Question. I usually just take a nap and then start the day over. I just pretend like it's a new day when I wake up and nap.
You're a good napper. Always
really. And I've been napping a lot with Sophia, my daughter, too. Like we nap a lot because I just feel like that helps me get through the day. And to keep the day flowing, I do need these little tiny blackout moments where I can just sort of like become, I don't know, just start the day over.
What about like your diet and exercise? Are you consistent with that right now?
Yeah, the diet and exercise is kind of non-existent right now. But when I do, because it's been difficult because we're basically in the Palisades, so we haven't been able to go outside. So I walk with Sophia every day, and we haven't been able to do that. So it's been a little tricky. But I did a ballet class yesterday, and Sophia dances around, and we do all these things inside, of course, in our apartment. And I mean, right now with the way my life is, I'm eating as healthy as I possibly can. Foods as close to as nature intended them to be as possible. I was the ballerina who got fired for being fat. I'm very vocal about this.
Because that is always one of my favorite stories. We are going to come right back with Shannon Rugani, and we're going to talk about my favorite story of,
Fat ballerina
who wasn't fat. I'm Christina Flack, and I'm too busy.
Mike Zorek, a 3-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a 6-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and 2 fourths. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back. I'm Christina Flack. We are with Shannon Rugani, and she is going to tell us about when she got fired for being fat at the ballet, which is absurd. She wasn't fat. She must have been like 3 grams overweight. But tell the story.
Literally, it's such an oxymoron to be a fat ballerina, right? It's stupid. But and by the way, they can't call you fat because legally they could get in trouble if they call you fat. So they say things like, you don't fit in with the other girls, or you look like I don't know. I was told like I look like an elephant once, which was like that was very nice.
Sweet.
Nice.
How fun. That's what every girl wants to hear. I look like an elephant.
Right.
And you too.
Yeah, especially like, the Waltz of the Flowers, like the elephant ballet, in Fantasia. You're like, really? Now that's me? Okay. But here's the thing. I was hired at 16, and then I went through the change, the woman, like we turned from a girl to a woman. And that change happened around like 18 or something, around there, and I just didn't know what was happening. My body was changing, everything was shifting, and then I got a concussion and apparently hit the I think it's the hypothalamus. I don't remember exactly. Not a neurologist, but whatever I hit really changed. I hope. Yeah, my sister's calling me. I'm so sorry. But it really changed my body and my body type. And they were like, we don't like this. We don't like this version of you. We hired you when you were a little girl, and we wanted you to stay a little girl. And it was a nightmare, really, because that was like my dream. Has nothing to do with your talent. It's everything to do with your appearance. And it was very hurtful to be told, like, basically you're ugly, essentially. And it's fixable, but it just felt really hard because I just didn't know what to do. I had a best friend in the ballet named Luke. His mother was, you love Luke. We were talking one day. He was doing a raw food diet at the time. And he couldn't keep weight on, was the quote. I can't keep weight on. You should try this diet. And I was like, yes, I would love to try that diet. Like, that sounds great. Because he was eating this heap of salad, and I was like, that looks good. And then he whipped out like this avocado pudding, and I was like, I don't know what that is, but it's chocolate and it looks amazing. And we were raw foodists together. I mean, I would occasionally have a hamburger here and there, but like for the most part, I was a hippy dippy granola, raw foodist. And I lost all the weight that I needed to lose, and I got my job back at the end of the year. And by the way, all the weight was like 3 pounds. Like, it was crazy. It was nothing. Yeah. It's like, that's what you gain when you eat a burrito, right? So now I laugh, but at the time it was like crazy. I am grateful for the raw food though, because my career was extended. I felt great. I had all this energy, and I could keep up with the Joneses, if you will, the ones who chose not to eat or to have sadly, an eating disorder. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of that, and that's Oh, it's so unfortunate that that's like the world of ballet, but they really, yeah, it's not the healthiest world, but I became the healthiest in that world and,
Well, and
still eat.
I mean, that's one of the things that you and I love to talk about is all our woo woo and all the different things that we do and eat and
Eat and drink and all the, yeah.
change,
And when I'm
change
doing
your life.
this, like,
It's
yeah, it's everything. It's your life. And when we were doing this, like the raw foodist thing, we had to do it all on our own. So there was no cold pressed juices that you could find. So we had to get juicers, and you couldn't find spiralized veggies. So you had to buy a spiralizer. So we were like dehydrating our snacks, which took like a day. And then like the snack would be like this big. Because just shrinks down to like nothing. That's
finished.
all the potato, the apple chips that I made or whatever. They're like 5. But yeah, we had to make it all. Now you can buy it all at like Trader Joe's and all these healthy options, like even like cauliflower rice. I was like chopping it in small pieces. Now you can just buy it. It's wonderful. There's healthy options everywhere.
It really is. That's what's so great. I mean, don't you think by the time you got to Broadway, your energy was, I mean, you'd figured it out how to feel good because you have to, I mean, you're a professional athlete basically. And
Yeah.
your body and you have to look good, you have to feel good, and your energy, especially on Broadway when you're doing 8 shows a week, you have to have that energy constantly up high. So
Yeah.
fuel is incredibly important.
Right. And it's interesting too, the mindset shift when I went from I can't have that to what do I want? And then you go into like, what do I feel like having? And that's interesting. That like really changed my relationship with food in general. Now it's always like, I don't really feel like feeling terrible right now, like if I wanted a piece of chocolate cake versus avocado or something, let's say, I gravitate towards the healthier option because I know the outcome makes me feel better. And I'm also allowing myself the option. If I want the chocolate cake, I can have it. But what do I really want? What does your body really want? When you start asking those questions and you give it the freedom, then you start craving the feeling that you get after, and that's usually the healthier choice. I mean, when your body's really in alignment with health, then that's kind of what you start choosing.
As your makeup artist, I can't tell you how much I appreciated that you always had flawless skin. And I talk about constantly beauty from the inside out, and it has everything to do with getting the rest, what you eat, what you drink, what you don't drink. And it really makes a difference because I've worked with models and actresses and all kinds of people that I know that they're eating terribly. I can see it in their skin. And so I want to thank you for being in a flawless canvas because you always come, it's part of the deal. You have to look the part and,
Yeah.
and, and
Yeah.
I'm convinced it's from the inside out. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts on it?
you used to say like it's all the beauty's from the inside out, and it's funny because I will hear every once in a while a dispute, and I'm like, there's no dispute. If I eat chocolate and I eat like a lot of cheap chocolate, I get zits all over my face. Like there's no dispute. It just is what it is, right? If I eat like low, what?
It's not up for negotiation. It's a fact.
It's a fact for sure. Like if you are dehydrated, you are going to have more wrinkles. It's just the way that works, right? It's just an amazing thing to have had a friend like you to also point out like this. You do look tired today because you drank last night, and like there's a repercussion to everything that you put in your body, and to have that empowerment and like actually choose to do it the healthy way, you want to do it more often, if that makes sense. That made no sense. I'm sure that was my mama brain talking. But when you start choosing healthy options, it becomes easier to continue doing that, if that makes sense.
Well, it does because you just know, like, I'm going to feel good, and feeling good feels so much better than a piece of cake.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
we are wrapping up. What have we not talked about that you want to tell the audience?
Oh God, there's nothing that I like have to talk about. I'm just like really excited about the Maryland Ballet, and I will be releasing that music. I think on April 4th, I'll be releasing it on all streaming services. Make sure you listen and
Yeah.
share if you want, and all of my Empress music. I
We didn't even
love.
get into that. I mean, Shannon
No,
wrote a song about me and my husband, and it's beautiful. And she's written
yeah,
so many beautiful songs, and her voice, she honestly sounds like an angel. So everybody, please download all the Empress music. It will be in the show notes. Shannon, I can't thank you enough for being with me today and sharing time, which you know is my best gift of all. So thank you. I am
thank you.
excited about Maryland, and I'm going to go up to Portland and definitely be there in the audience. So I can't wait.
Can't wait.
Yeah. I want to thank Alex, my producer in New York. I want to thank Avery and Maya, my assistants. Thank you so much. And I will see you next week. And I'm Christina Flack.
This has been I'm Too Busy with host Christina Flack. Tune in each week as Christina approaches the concept of success holistically, recognizing that achievement is not solely measured by financial triumphs, but also by maintaining a healthy work-life balance and focusing on self-care. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network, powered by B2 Studios.